If it's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's LinkedIn Live, Hour of Empower. Today, we're so honored to have a new guest. Colin Lake is here with us. The word of the day is why. Can't forget about Rita Wirtz, who's just been phenomenal on the show and supporting the show behind the scenes. And naturally, the audience is really the reason we're here and the only reason we can keep coming back every day. So this is all about you. We depend on you to direct our attention and our responses to whatever your present situation, and share a triumph and really think yourself about the word why and what does it mean to you. So with that said, I want to just turn it over to Rita. And
Okay.
Rita can share a little bit more, and then we'll turn it over to Colin, who can introduce himself to a bit, and
Okay.
everybody's initial thought on why. Rita?
Well, Don, we need to see you. We're not seeing you yet, so you
I,
want to join
okay,
us?
yeah, I'll monkey with this thing.
Okay,
Uh,
I'll start.
yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
so delighted that Colin Lake was able to join us today from a hotel room even. This man delivers. I'm going to just start with just a little bit before we talk about why I want to tell you why I want Colin Lake on this show in particular. I happened to meet Colin through networking on LinkedIn. And I went through a phase where I was going to appointments on the wrong day or the wrong time. And I did this repeatedly. And I messed up. I had a meeting set with Colin Lake, and I didn't know him, but I knew that he was a leader of leaders in the business world. And he was a man that I thought would be really great to just talk to. Well, I screwed it up and I missed the meeting. This man is such a leader of leaders. He tracked me down to make sure I was okay. He called me, he left messages, and then he rescheduled our talk, and we finally talked. And I said, I'm going to stay in touch with this man because he is a good man who has tremendous leadership and he over delivers. So I've been just so pleased to go back and forth with Colin. I'm thrilled you're here today. So let's get right off into it. Purpose, passion, why, but there's many ways that we can look at why. And so I'm going to turn it right over to Colin now to jump on in and start us off.
Great. Thank you, Rita. I am seeing Leslie posting about, I only see myself on camera as well.
Yeah, I'm working
anyway.
on it. I got to
Okay.
figure this out. So please continue.
Okay, great. All right, so my name is Colin Lake. I'm the president and founder of a company called Developing the Next Leaders, as well as a company called DTNL. DTNL is simply the acronym for Developing the Next Leaders. Developing the Next Leaders is the charity form of the business, and DTNL is the for-profit portion of the business. We started as a charity 6 years ago with this single mission of taking people who are leaving the military, who have served so bravely, and help them make a successful entrance into the professional world or the private sector. Lots of companies would like to hire ex-military. Even lots of companies hire ex-military. What we have learned over 20 plus years in the financial services industry, while they hire them or they want to hire them, they don't necessarily train them really well. So we built Developing the Next Leaders to provide this basic training. Here's some air quotes for you, some basic training for them prior to entering the company, so that when they get there, the training the company delivers to them can take hold, and they can ultimately be the next leaders of their firm or the industries they're entering. Company said, hey, these people are trained pretty well. Maybe you'd want to do this for more of our employees who are non-military. And that led to DTNL, which is the for-profit coaching, training, and learning development business. So we've been doing it, like I say, for about 6 years, spent 20 years in the financial services industry, bringing investment products to financial professionals and helping them understand them and help them present those to their clients. So I'm really happy to be here with all of you. And Rita told the story and how we got connected. And it was a wonderful story because the ending, of course, is this. I mean, this is the most recent part of the ending, but the ending was an amazing conversation and a wonderful connection and getting to know someone who deeply cares about other people. And, you know, like sometimes, well, let me say it this way, many people with the work that they do on LinkedIn is driven toward this methodology of how can I turn each connection into a revenue source, or how can I take who I'm talking to and make money from them. When you think about that as the initial reason why reaching out, or the initial reason why you're engaging in a social media platform, you tend to have less success. And I think neither Rita nor I nor Don have that as the core motive. And I think that's why we've had so much success on the platform. Now, all of that said, the core to our training, which is me getting back to the why, which is the word of the day, the core to our training is built on this premise that we don't think that human beings are bad listeners, although many people would suggest that is the case, that people are bad listeners. We would suggest that people are bad askers of questions. When you ask bad questions, or you ask questions that you think you know the answer to, you tend to listen very poorly. We train people on asking questions that get people to think in a way they haven't thought before. That not only leads to amazing discovery for the person you're talking to, it leads to incredible answers and ultimately amazing discussion for both you and they. And you connect in this way that people haven't connected in a while, and it feels really refreshing. There are 3 types of questions, by the way, that get people to answer differently. One is just the word of the day, is a why question. When you ask people why, in particular, a certain kind of why question, it gets people to answer from a different part of their brain. So does a how question. HOW, how question, gets people to answer from a different part of their brain. And what with numbers questions, meaning what are the 3 things that, or what's the one thing that, I call those what with numbers questions. Those 3 questions force people to answer from this prefrontal cortex, this relational brain. And we want to get people answering questions from this relational brain. And when we do that, again, we get into this place where we have much more lively discussions and much more enriching conversation. So wonderful word of the day. So happy to be a part of this. And I'm going to turn it back to Don for his comments on my thoughts.
Okay, I'm having issues with the picture, but I hope.
Yeah, we know. Can anybody see me, or are you just seeing Colin? Lucky you. Colin, can you see me?
I cannot.
First.
Yeah, I'm just seeing
great.
I'm just seeing myself. It looks like I'm looking in a
Well,
mirror.
you look great.
Well,
I think we'll just
keep
keep talking.
The look of the show today. So yeah, first of all, I want to recognize our audience. Leslie's here, Natalie's here, Ashif is here, Dean is here. Thank you so much. Trying to work on the technical side. I think I'll get it eventually. But with that said, getting back to why, I guess we've got the best of an audio event and a video event. So
we have Colin anyway. I see me and Colin.
So I look at why as a swinging door, because why is an answer and why is a question, right? If someone says, "Hey, come on with me to the show tonight," and you say why, that's a response, right? If you go up to somebody and say, "Why are you doing this?" That's a question that you're either creating or responding to the why. And I think why is really a matter of how do you justify what you do next? And that's where, why should I do this? Why should I spend money on this? Why should I whatever? And those are questions you need to have more often. And also ask yourself, why not? Which is the other swing of the door. So, I think it's so valuable to look at words in context and delivery, packaging, presentation, orientation, facial expression. And at the end of the day, with all those, it's what you bring to the word that now brings the word to someone else.
That's interesting, Don, that you mentioned why not yesterday in a comment. Ashif brought up the why not. So I had been spending several hours playing around with the word. I never even came to why not until I saw that from Ashif. And so as I look at why and what I think about why, then it does flip me into that other side, the why not? Why don't we do what we do? I want to say that for me, why is all about defining my why, my purpose, my passion, joining together to do things that I never dreamed that I could do. to take risks continually, even if that doesn't go well. There's no failure for me, only feedback, and I'll keep at it, just like in my tango class on Sunday. I think that personally, my purpose has been in stone since I was about 6 years old. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. And when I was 13, I went with my mother to adulthood to help tutor. Oh, that was my purpose, my passion, my why. So if I look at my why now, it's still just as simple, but so profound. My why is to help as people as possible, help teach children to become capable, confident readers who to read. Colin, you came from a large family. How did you determine what your why was, or what your passion for your life?
Just when you were saying that, Rita, you had me like looking up. You look up, right? It's one of these things where you're trying to find how that comment or that thought connects with what you're thinking. It really gets me to be pensive. Like I'm like, wow, that hits me, because I don't think when I was 6 years old I had my why defined. I think my why continually gets defined and redefined, defined and redefined. And important word choice there. Like it gets defined. Like I define my why, and then I'm consistently working toward redefining and evolving it and making sure that I continue to push the envelope. I remember thinking at a very young age, I watched a Hawaii Ironman I think I was 12. I may have been 13 years old. And I said to my mother, I will do that race. And she said, Colin, that's a 2.5 mile swim, 112-mile bike, and a 26.2-mile run through the lava fields of Hawaii. You'll never do that. Or not, she was not negative about it. She said, that's a pretty big reach. You better do lots of preparing in order to get there. And I ultimately ended up being, towing the start line of that race. And so I was awfully proud of that. But that was like one of those moments that got me to drive towards something, which I completed. And then I said, if I can do this, why can't I do something more than that? And then I got into these ultra races, and I love doing these ultra races. And then I've done some of these adventure races where they're 4 and 5 and 6 day races where you're racing, hundreds of miles over multiple days, unassisted. And so it's like this constant evolution of the why. So like, if you think about what Don was saying, is it's a swinging door. It swings like in all different directions, because the word why with inflection can mean something different. Like if I say, oh, why did you do that? That sounds like I'm interested. If I say, why'd you do that? That's a whole different meaning to it. It's almost like accusatory. So this word why has lots of room to be interpreted and discussed. And so I think really great word choice for the hour of empower.
On Wednesday, I'm a little flabbergasted with a tech issue this morning. But we always move on. You never know. I have learned that. When I think of purpose and passion and that why, the question always comes, and I'd like to direct this to our friends in our audience this morning also. How has your purpose, your why, impacted your life?
Well, I think that's a wonderful question. And I think that, why is a continuum, not an outcome.
Right.
So, one why will probably get you another why. And, it's just, putting little important pieces together over time compounds. But here's the thing, small whys become a big answer one day, because in some ways you're just chipping away. And, eventually when you break through, it's not as difficult anymore. And you don't have as many questions because you've answered them. Mm-hmm. And now you're in a position to take action with them or against them, whatever the case may be. So, I look at why as a tool. Buy more vowels before you solve the puzzle. Get to know context and orientation before you make judgment. So it's part of the process towards advancing and helping each other. But while I have no screen, I'll just use my voice better. Leslie's here. So good to see you. I'm seeing only Colin. I guess because Colin's meant to only be seen today.
He's our superstar now. Leslie, we're aware.
Chief is here. Now Natalie's here. Natalie's been a superstar, been on, I think, 3 times in the last 2-3 weeks. Just a great artist, but more importantly, a wonderful person. Dean's here. Dean's here every day almost. Thanks for coming. Nicole, who was on the show last week and did so well with Leslie Flowers. Thanks for coming. Natalie, is starring in this show for sure. Comes back with hello, okay. And then we're moving on to a comment that says, I like that very much. Ask why not to. What have you got to gain? What have you got to lose? Well, you know, one thing about that, you're in play either way, you know, and you want to be in play. You don't want to be sitting still, watching time go by and thinking about what isn't happening, when you could just get out there and start asking. And, you know, asking today is so much easier because you've got AI, you know, you've got Google, you've got YouTube. You don't have to go to a library. You don't have to see a person. You can do self-wise, you know, towards whatever can help you in getting answers. What's your thoughts, Rita?
Well, I'm agreeing with everything that you two have said. And the notes that I've written down, we're just zipping right through. Well, one note I had written about finding our purpose, our why, seeking answers, and the power of questioning, which Colin really took on right away. And also, does our why shift? And I believe that all of us would say at some time or another, our why had shifted from our original thought. But my question now is, how do we, or should we, in this defining moment in our country, should we match our why to what's needed now in our world? And if so, what would we do?
Colin?
Yeah.
Colin,
Yes.
that's you.
Yes, that's one heck of a question and a power laden set of thoughts, and one that required more than the answer I'm going to give, although I'm going to give an answer on it. My answer is a yes, and a resounding yes. Is the things that we do should be designed to help improve or create better pathways for our future. Said a different way, we should be thinking about leaving this place better than we found it. And I'm not so sure that everyone thinks that way with their lives, or, you know, get a little bit more narrow, their families or their careers or their individual like actions that they take if you get even further, you know, down that funnel. And I do believe, Reed, if we did spend more time thinking about, like, is this connected to leaving this place better than I found it? Then yes, I think we'd all be, you know, we'd all be smiling more often. You know, we'd all be finding real passion. You know, I have lots of people who I've coached who, you know, they come to me, Rita and Don, they'll come to me and say, hey, my problem is at the end of every day, I feel like I got nothing done. That's like one of the core things that they come to me for is, you've got to help me figure this whole picture out. And the very first question I ask them is, tell me what you're doing and then why you're doing it. I mean, I want to understand, like, do you know what your role is in this career and how that connects to your life? You're doing it the current way you're doing it, because